Welcome to Tuesday Tutorials, Creatures. For this tutorial, I don't have a lot that I'm going to build in front of you. I just wanted to give you some ideas. I did build some things over the last couple days to try and showcase some different techniques. I have some stuff that I've had built for a while and some things that are actually come out of sets as well. So I figured I'd show you a little bit of mock, a little bit of history, and some other cool stuff. The most frustrating thing that I'm going to show you today is this Blowfish. This is one solid piece, and it's got a hole in the bottom that does not connect to anything at all. You can't put it on anything, you can't put it on Duplo, you can't put it on System Brick or Technic or anything else. It's insane. It's molded this way. We also have our larger Duplo, I think it's a baby elephant actually. Here's another molded element. You can see that it's multiple pieces, but they put it together. So this is kind of a cool creature because you can actually stick it on System Brick and it will support Duplo and System and mini doll riders, depending on how you get them on there. It's a pretty cute little elephant. So that's pretty much it for Duplo stuff. It's much harder to brick build with Duplo, as we've all seen. If anybody's seen the dinosaurs in the Lego house in Denmark, they have 3 large dinosaurs and one of them is built out of like Duplo trees and stuff. It's really clever. We've got our classic horse. This horse came out of a set from, I want to say, 95, maybe? Very classic. It's got that saddle section in the middle there, right? Does this very unique drinking the water kind of thing. I suppose you could rear it up. There is another version of this horse that, like it's hinged almost, and the back legs kind of allow it to rear up. But this is the old school classic one. Anybody that ever had any classic castle or western or any of the sets that come with horses, this was from a Dragon Knight set. Then we've got our newer molded pieces, like these dogs. I think these are pretty cool. Certainly it's spaced so that it can fit. I think it's 3 studs, a 1x3 space. Those are neat because they're dual colored, printed. And then we've got even newer baby dinosaurs. These are really cool. I buy these by the dozen because they're really neat and can represent a couple different dinosaurs. Those are pretty cool creatures. Moving on, we've got our brick-built bear, our brown bear here. And this came out of a Creator 3-in-1 set. I think it's a cabin. I think there's like a moose. I believe that's the set that this came from. But this is really cool because this is one of the examples of a creature where realistically you've got a lot of unique parts here. And to look at any of these parts on their own, a couple of them you could see. Obviously the nose makes sense, right? Little black nose. That makes sense. These roof tile sections or these slope bricks here, it's corner slopes. That makes sense in terms of like the back of the bear. But to put a lot of these together, you really wouldn't think that these parts would come together to make a bear. And that's really the point of what I wanna illustrate tonight, is that things like this Technic connector, 1x2 plate, right? And these slopes and things. Slopes lend themselves a little bit more to it. But just the combination, sorry bear. The combination of, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts makes a bear leg, or it could make a deer leg, or anything else really, any kind of 4-legged creature. What I like about this is that they used Technic, so for those folks out there who gut-hate Technic for whatever reason, even in a brick-built bear creature, you're going to still have some Technic elements, and in this case it's 1x1s with the Technic, the friction pin, Technic friction pin there. So it's kind of neat the way you can take these parts and look at them independently. And obviously you've got your 1x2 with the bar and your 1x1 with the clip here. But just adding a tile to that makes a nice little foot, right? And the fact that it is on the Technic pins and connectors, gives it some rotational motion, right? It's not going to go laterally, but you've got that ability to kind of articulate these in a way that would make the bear look like it's walking through the woods. Obviously, there is a molded version, but I think this one is probably more my favorite. And as with all my MOCs, and this isn't a MOC, this actually came out of a set, but with all my MOCs, I tend to put, where I can, I tend to put eyeballs on them. And I love these eyeballs because if you just like slant them one way and the opposite way, it makes the creature, whatever creature it is, could be a turtle, could be a bear, could be a dragon, makes it look ridiculous. Like it's a little derpy. The other part that I really like about this build, which is cool, is that they've used this ball joint for the neck, right? So you see these a lot. I've used them in other places. You see them in a lot of different builds and a lot of connections. This supports a pretty good amount of weight, actually. So if you had a couple of them, if you were articulating a neck of something, if it was a little bit larger creature and you had a couple of them back to back, you could successfully articulate that neck up and down, left and right, and it gives you a really nice way to kind of give some character to that creature, right? Might be looking down at that ridiculous fish because it's going to try to pull it out of the water, even though the fish is the same size as the bear. Or, you know, you can kind of like get him to hunker down here on his hind legs, and he's just hanging out staring at you with those derpy eyes. So lots of really, really good ways to articulate a small creature. Like this is probably all of 30 parts maybe, right? So in that little bit, you've got all this character that you can build just by changing the positions of the paws or turning the head and having them look down, look up. I really do enjoy the brick-built creatures. The molded creatures are great. They certainly add a lot of dynamic character to your scenes when you put them in houses or on streets, wherever you might have them. So they're great creatures. But the brick build ones, you know, you have that creative license to really do whatever you want. Next, we've got some more modern Minecraft parts here. So we've got the Ocelot, and the Ocelot makes use of, I'm gonna tear the poor Ocelot in half here, makes use of this part, which at this scale, at that size, it's really hard to brick build something like that. So LEGO came out with a molded piece that they've printed to give it that Minecraft face. And with just a couple plates, I mean, all this is the 1x1 with the round bar and 1x1 clip and a few 1x3, 1x1 plates, plus that molded head there, and you've got an Ocelot. Same thing with the chicken here, and I love this chicken. I have like the set that this comes in is like the Alex from Minecraft, Alex Big Fig, and she's got her chicken and she's got this cool sword, molded sword piece. But I have about like 50 of these, and the face on the thing is just derpy, completely. But what's cool is that LEGO came out with this printed tile here, right? So this 1x2 printed tile, white with the 2 black squares on it. And I mean, that could be anything. You could get a bunch of these and stack them on snoot bricks to make like buildings and windows on buildings at a micro scale. So this is a really versatile piece, but they've used it here for the chicken face. And again, not much to this. Lots of sideways build. I don't like the fact that the legs are kind of loosey-goosey here, so what I end up doing is I always end up tiling them with the grate pieces to give it more of that chicken leg type look there. And they don't have much of a backside, so I give them a little feather there to try and make it look more like a chicken butt. But again, really good use of multi-directional building, snoot plates, both angle down and angle up. And that's something that I want to point out too, that we'll see later on. We're going to do a segment on brickheads, and when you want to build with snoot plates or snoot bricks, and you need to go both up and down from a central plane, it's very easy to do that if you stack the down plate and the up plate right on top of each other. It gives you a continuous stud surface so that it's not offset. Sometimes, I think when I showed our furniture episode and we talked about the bookshelf, that bookshelf, on the back side of the bookshelf, I had to have it spaced just right because both plates were facing up on the top row and on the bottom. So when you do that and you have a gap in between, you really have to like measure out exactly how many LDU spaces you're going to need to be able to put those together. But when you do them stacked like this, both combinations, it gives you a really nice continuous surface. Put the chicken back together. I do like the way they did the chicken here in terms of the head. The head is really, again, derpy but cute. And all it is just, again, 2 1x2 plates with the bar, the round bar, and 1x2 with the double clip. That's a more modern clip. They never used to have those, but they have them now. It's really useful. And that just clips on there. So when you think about building this, right, you might think about trying to brick build it such that there was maybe an inverted slope here to give you a surface where you could kind of rest the head on. I like the creativity behind this because that is nothing, right? But the second you tip that up, now it's chicken head. So try to think outside the box and think about pieces forward, backwards, upside down, sideways, hinged. So there's lots of uses. The other thing that I really like about this, I love these small builds because they're so good. This piece. So this piece here is a newer piece, but it's super useful. It's a 1x2 tile, essentially, with a sideways snoot plate style 1x2 plate. And it's the exact distance as you might imagine it would be for the plate width, both on the 1x2 and on the 2x2 tile section. It's super, super useful. I used a lot of these in medium stone gray in my Santa's Workshop build on the edge to support all the wreaths. So those are super great. And if you have an application like this, and all it is just a 1x2 with the 2x2 snoot plate facing downward, these can support sideways builds, they can support upside down builds, vertical builds, anything that you can think of, you can use those bi-directional plates for, and it's really, really solid. Usually when I go to lift this chicken up off the plate, the chicken comes and the rest of this stays. Another thing that we've seen in modern times are these big figs. There are brick-built big figs. This guy's missing a claw, I don't know. It's very talkative too. There are brick-built big figs, like in one of the Wonder Woman sets, there's like a big, whatever the bad guy was in the Wonder Woman movie, I forget the original one. They have a brick-built version of him, right? So it's probably about yay tall, and the arms articulate and move and everything, and the legs move. It's very similar to, it's a little bit bigger than the Alex that comes with the chicken in the Minecraft set. But these big figs are molded pieces. They don't come apart. They do have some articulation in terms of, that classic alligator mouth there. I don't know. I think his got played with a little bit too much because it doesn't quite stay open. But they also introduce, like if you see on Hulk and Thanos and some of the other big figs, they have these articulated arms that are either self-contained Technic pins where it doesn't come out, and it's got that, it's like a click hinge, if you will, rotational click hinge. You can kind of hear it as it clicks around. Otherwise, they normally just have a Technic pin socket, a friction pin socket, and it comes with the friction pins inside. So those are really cool. I do like this guy because I think this is Killer Croc from one of the Batman ones, but it's really neat because there's a lot going on there. So some of the big figs are a little bit blasé, but some are like this, so they're pretty cool. Another creature that I dug out, which is just weird, somewhere between the year 2000 and the year 2010. Lego produced Dino, right? And the Dino series, which was before all the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World stuff, had some really weird dinosaurs. I'm a huge dino fan, not like this kind of dino, like actual dinosaurs. Big fan. So this, for me, was like, what is even going on here? But this, to me, it's a lizard. I think that's a lizard, but it's a dinosaur, so whatever. But this is that rubberized, it's like a harder rubberized plastic, or not really even sure, I don't even know if it's ABS, but there was a series of dino type creatures like this where they had, some were the hard molded plastic, and they had like a plesiosaur, and they had a brontosaurus. One solid color, usually like a sand green or something, browns and grays and things like that. I got a triceratops on my nightstand that's molded, and the legs don't really move. They're kind of in that forward back position. But then these guys came out, and they're just, they do have anti-studs on the bottom. They've got the tubes where they can actually stick to things, kind of. I wouldn't trust it on a sideways build. It would fall right off for sure. But they do kind of stick down, and they use the tail kind of. An interesting time in Lego's creature production. Then we've got some fairly recent creatures, right? Here's the Patronus from one of the Harry Potter sets. I thought this was really cool. We used it in our Wadsworth Athenaeum Festival of Trees and Traditions Christmas show. So that was really cool because you don't usually see something like this. Certainly not in a frosted, sparkle, translucent light blue. But that's a pretty cool creature. And just like this guy, now I think this guy's a little bit more rigid because it's older, but the antlers on this are that flexible, rubberized material, and they're a little bit softer. So I think maybe the Lego came up with a different material for that. But that's really neat. It's really pretty. You can do all kinds of winter scenes with that. It could be, like a spirit creature. It could be the Patronus, like in Harry Potter. It could be all kinds of things. So you could have like an ice queen riding it or something like that. The elvish lord who rode the big elk in Lord of the Rings, but I picture a creature like this in a scene like that. So I thought that was really cool to show. And then we have our anthropomorphized minifigs, right? So we've got all kinds of minifigs that are animals. This one even has like the little curly-Q tail. I thought that was kind of cute. My grandmother loved pigs, so I really do enjoy the little piggy minifig. But this was part of a CMF, as you can tell from the plate that comes with it. And there are numerous outfits. I guess they're outfits, right? I mean, mostly it's just torsos and legs, and then a unique hairpiece. Technically, that's a hairpiece. And they usually come with accessories, but these are really fun. Anybody that's seen my Nuggets build has seen the scene in the outside area where I have actual Lego chickens, and then the guy in the chicken suit being chased by the chef with the cleaver. I've got my purple dragon, which I'll show you in a minute, and then I made this, I don't know, I'm calling it a worm. I thought this would be cute. It's very cartoonish, it's very brick built, so what I did was I went into the brick pile, basically. My whole house is a brick pile at this point. And I picked a color, and I said, all right, what kind of creature can I make from this color? So I said, well, it's a snake, it's a worm, whatever. It's got fangs, it's got big goofy eyes, very, very derpy, but adorable nonetheless. And I wanted to try to do some different build techniques with this. So you see I've got mostly vertical builds. When we're talking about like Lego builds in general, if you're building a house as a 10-year-old kid, you're just stacking bricks vertically, right? You put a window, you put a door, but you're stacking and stacking, and then your roof is a pyramid. Anything other than a vertical structural build like that can be a horizontal build, can be an inverted build, can be sideways builds, and now we've got this Tensegrities build where it's using tension and physics. So what I tried to do with this was I tried to incorporate a little bit of offset building. So as you can see in the face here, on the side, we've got some, you can probably see it better that way, there's some gaps in here, and that's because I used some snoot plates to try and offset the face a little bit, give it a little bit more depth. Certainly I've got lots of actual brick, 1x2, 1x4 brick in there, but within this section in here, I've done some offset build and then some jumper plate build. So originally, pull that off of there, originally that was a tile just a 1x2 tile, and I had put it on the stud here and then kind of slid it into place so that it would be a little bit higher. What I found was it wasn't sticking well. It didn't have quite the clutch power, so I decided to switch it to a jumper and just evenly space it. But adding that on there gives your creature a good bit of depth. Gives it just some texture, the way you might see like curves in a creature's face, or if he were to like crunch his nose down and snarl, you'd have a little bit of depth there. And then I had all these green flippers from some, I don't even know what it's from, probably some extra bag or something. And I thought that would make a really cute tail, just a little flipper hanging off there. So you can take something like that that really only has a minifig application. I've got a bunch of my brick-built flowers over here, and on one of the flowers I used a bunch of these to make petals, right? Not just on the stems, but also on the leaves themselves. So you can take something that you would otherwise only conceive of having one purpose, and then use that for something else like this. And I just thought it would be a cute little flippity tail. Again, here I've got some more offset build where I've taken that tile and kind of just slid it over so that it spaces the way I want it to. And some angular builds here with the teeth. So it's a little brick-built worm, snake creature. And obviously this is probably a little bit bigger scale. I kind of wanted to make the head look a little bit out of proportion to this tiny little worm. But it's close to the chicken and the bear, a little bit bigger. So certainly your scale is going to depend on what you're making and what you want it to look like. Sometimes you just sit down and grab some brick and end up with that. All right, so here's my purple dragon, just like me. Her name is Violet. She's got some cool features. I did use the inside of the mouth and the eyes from the Minecraft dragon, the end dragon. I just thought it looked really cool because the eyes were already kind of a shade of like pink purple, so it got pretty close to what I was going for. And then the mouth here, yeah, you're gonna see that mouth lights up. The mouth, what I did was I just took some of these like hood scoops and space shields. I've got the inverted one on the bottom and the regular tapered down version on the top, and I've just plugged in the teeth with the gold tooth there. Thought that would be kind of cool. And what I've done is in the head, when I built the head with the horns, and I built the horns on snoot plates that are attached to it, I put a light brick in there, the red light brick that you can get pretty much anywhere. And in order to support that, you can see in the back of the neck here is where the connector is. It's a Technic connector for the light brick. It's the end of the light brick, and it does support Technic axles. So I just put the right length Technic axle in there so that when the head is in the down position, as she tips her head down, the light turns on, which I thought was really funny. Kids at some of the Brick Fair events in Wadsworth got a kick out of this the year that I had it there. Other than that, it's a lot of repetition, right? So for a creature this size, you can make the tail a little bit longer. It's very blocky because I was trying to keep it a little bit more of that Minecraft type look. So lots of repetition. You can see in the tail, it's the 1x2 hinge plate on either side, the female and the male hinge connector to give your tail a little bit of articulation there, and you can kind of get these to a fixed position, and then lots of teeth and slopes and tiles to kind of finish it off. I've used very common piece you'll see on like the Master Wu dragon, the white one with the gold wings. You see these connectors here, and those are like a two-sided connector. It's the same kind of connector that's in the big fig. Some of the big figs that support these rotating click hinge connections that tie right into, it's essentially a 2x2 brick with an opening, or a 2x2 brick with the other half of this rotational connector there. And then to give it a look of like a foot, right? So you're generally gonna use, if you're gonna do the hinge version of that, you're gonna bend it forward and you're gonna bend it back and then have a foot kind of underneath the way you see here, right? So that's usually like a good design for hind legs, but you can certainly do really whatever. And in the front, I did struggle in the front because I wanted these to have a lot of articulable motion here. I didn't want it to just be like just forward and back or just up and down. I wanted it to be able to move to the side because, you know, dragons like to climb on things. So she's going to have like one foot on the castle and the other one's going to be reaching off to like take flight. So these are more of the hinge plates, the click hinge plates, but just as a single because the front arms are going to be a little bit smaller. It didn't have to be. I could have made them both the same size, but I thought she was going to be a little bit more lean up front. And the other really cool part, the only other neat part about this is the fact that she can flap her wings. So I don't dig on saddles on dragons. I don't think dragons should have saddles on them because if you're going to ride a dragon, you're probably not going to make it. But instead of a saddle, I did this. And what it's doing is it's using the hinge of a 1x1 Technic brick in the front and the back, right? And then we've got Technic pins on either side of these Technic axle connectors, right? So it's pinned in from the side so that the whole thing can rotate up and down, right? And it's just hold the wing section and use the half Technic pin, half Technic axle connector. And then inside, let's see if I can pull off a section here without totally mangling it. Yeah, see, well, I totally mangled it. Remember I said I put eyeballs in all my MOCs? You see the eyeball in there? That's how you know they're mine. So as you can see, it's just pushing down, it's just pressure pushing down on that to flap the wings. Now it can only go down to a horizontal plane, but you know, that's a pretty good flap. Obviously, if I had raised these up a little bit, the bar could pass a little bit lower so that the wings could come up a little bit higher. But this has the 1x2 plate with the horizontal and vertical bar on there, and that's really just to stop it from passing through so that the wings themselves don't pop it up too far. Pop that back on there. Yeah, definitely broke it. Anyway, you get the idea. She flaps her wings and she torches stuff. That's our creatures. Obviously there are many more creatures, both Duplo and aren't really Technic creatures, but you could always brick build a Technic creature. You know, we have the dinosaurs that are brick built Technic creatures. We've got these weird molded creatures that are that rubberized. We've got big figs, we've got minifigs, we've got brick built creatures and molded creatures from all different sizes, and our classic never gonna go away type molded creatures there. So yeah, so have fun with it. Do things that are creative, do things that are whimsical. Take the ideas and look at things that you really wouldn't see one way or another as a creature, and then throw those parts together and you might get a leg, or you might get a face, or you know, these are most often recognized as 1x1s with the sideways connections here are historically they're typically like space pieces, right? So, but in this case, they're ears. Lots of different ways to use stuff. You just have to be creative with it. Cool. Well, that's what I got. I hope you all enjoyed this Tuesday tutorial on creatures. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. Take care out there. Happy building. And play well.